Enable Brotli compression in Nginx for Jenkins. With the release of Jenkins LTS 2.479.1, there is a new option to give you the ability to disable compression within the Jetty servlet engine. That way you can choose what type of compression you want to use within your reverse proxy. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Brotli with Nginx. Here's today's starting point. I have a Jenkins LTS controller version 2.479.1. In front of it, I'm using Nginx as the reverse proxy. Now, if you're currently using Nginx as your reverse proxy, you can go ahead and continue on. If you're interested in using Nginx as your reverse proxy, there's a link down in the description of this video to show you how to go ahead and set up everything so you can get to the point that I'm at right now. So if you're wanting to start using Nginx, go watch the other video first and then come back here. All right, so now that you've got Nginx set up and you're ready to go ahead and enable Brotli compression, let's start from that point. Now, before we go ahead and move on, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at vendors.js. That's the file that we're going to be tracking to see what happens when we enable Brotli compression. So let's go ahead and click on vendors.js. Notice that I have disable cache checked so that we're seeing the real numbers as they come out. So what we see here with vendors.js, we have our content encoding as gzip and the amount transferred is 196K. The raw file size is 750K. So even with gzip, we're moving from 750 down to 196. But let's see if we can make that a little bit better using Brotli. Now, you may or may not have the Brotli module that you need in order to use it with Nginx. In my case, I'm currently running on Debian 12, which gives me the ability to install the Brotli module just through apt install. If you're running a different operating system, it's up to you to figure out how to get the Brotli module installed. So let's go ahead and go over into the machine. Now, on this machine, I have both Jenkins LTS running and I also have Nginx running. Not separate servers, just everything on one single machine. So let's go ahead and go into root, and then let's go ahead and edit our reverse proxy configuration. In this case, it's just named jenkins.conf. And what we'll see here is I've already put in the values for Brotli into my configuration. I just have them commented out right now. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and uncomment Brotli on. That enables the module. I have a compression level set to 9. Now the default is 5, and it goes from a range of 0 to 11. But for right now, let's go ahead and bump this back down to 4, so it's a little bit smaller compression. Brotli static is a different module that you can enable for anything that's already been pre-compressed, and it has a BR file extension. I'm going to go ahead and enable it, even though we don't have any of that here. Brotli types will go through and compress every content type that's listed here. And then I'm also going to include Brotli min length. Now, Brotli min length is don't do any kind of compression if the file is smaller than this size. So what this says is if the file size is smaller than 50 bytes, don't use any compression. Now, the file that we're taking a look at is 750K, so we'll be well above that. Let's go ahead and click on save here, and let's restart Nginx. Now, if we go ahead and go back over into our controller, we'll click on dashboard to reload the file. We'll look at vendors.js, but we'll still see that content encoding is set to gzip. Now remember, we've got gzip already by default configured within the Jetty servlet running Jenkins. But now we have a new value that we can put in to disable that compression. By default, all compression is gzip. If we want to go ahead and use Brotli, we have to disable the compression coming from Jetty so that Nginx can do all the compression for us. So let's go ahead and go into our configuration for Jenkins. I'm going to say systemctl edit Jenkins. We're going to modify the Jenkins ops value, and we're going to add in -- compression equals none. At the time of recording, there are only two values for compression. There is none, and there is gzip, which is the default. So we're setting it to none. Let's go ahead and save this, and let's go ahead and restart Jenkins. Now that Jenkins is restarted, let's go ahead and go back over into our dashboard. We'll click on dashboard. Let's go take a look at vendors. Now we see our content encoding is BR for Brotli, but we'll also notice that the transferred amount is roughly 200K. The compression value that we put in, which was 4, is not as strong as what we had with gzip. So this is actually going backwards, but remember that we can change the compression value from 0 to 11. So let's go modify our value. So we'll go back up to our configuration for Nginx. Let's modify our compression level from 4 and let's change it up to 9. Now remember, we can go from 0 to 11. I don't want to go to the far end, even though I could just to test it out, but I would need to see how much pressure that puts onto this machine. So in some cases, you might be able to run it on 11, but other people may not be able to. So I'm just going to 9. I'm just moving up a little bit. So let's go ahead and save this. Let's restart Nginx. Let's come back over to our controller, click on Dashboard. Let's take a look at vendors. We still see Brotli, but now notice that our compression level, by changing it to 9, now makes the file size 178K instead of just over 200K, which is still better than what we saw when we were running our gzip compression. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach out to us on X at CloudBees. If this video was helpful to you, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to CloudBees TV yet, why not? Take a moment, click on that subscribe button, and then ring that bell, and you'll be notified anytime there's new content available on CloudBees TV. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.